from protecting the ones he loves
What'd you do that for? I had plenty of time.
to offering help without expecting anything in return.
They're whimsical because ducks have neither a need for nor the ability to use umbrellas.
Here are 14 times when Sheldon was a really good friend. Starting with Sheldon making sure Penny didn't break Leonard's heart. When Penny talks to Bernadette and Amy about her relationship with Leonard, Bernadette asks if she was planning to marry him. Penny said Leonard was great, but couldn't give a clear answer. And after Amy started pushing her, she said,
Oh, yeah, sure, of course I love him.
Doesn't sound like it.
Well, I do.
though her tone suggested she wasn't entirely sure, or still figuring out her feelings.
Maybe this is a new, better, boring kind of love.
Either way, not a certainty. Amy later mentioned it to Sheldon while they were watching a movie.
Penny said she's not sure she wants to be Leonard's girlfriend anymore.
When Amy asked him not to mention it to Leonard, Sheldon seemed distressed at the idea of keeping it from him.
Now you're asking me to keep a secret from my best friend, colleague, and roommate?
And we all know how much Sheldon hates keeping secrets.
FYI, secret keeping, hate it.
And as the episode went on, we saw Sheldon trying his best to keep his promise, but also warn his friend about what was going on.
There's something I need to tell you.
Okay.
I can't tell you.
Why?
I can't tell you why I can't tell you.
He even used Transformers as a metaphor, which is classic Sheldon, but Leonard couldn't quite get it for all he speaks Sheldonese and is probably Sheldon's best interpreter, really, all things considered.
The Transformers teach us that things are not always what they appear to be.
The idea of Leonard being unaware bothered Sheldon so much that he couldn't even sleep. And finally, Sheldon went to Penny's apartment and woke her up.
I was having a little trouble sleeping, and I just thought, seeing as you're up, we could talk.
After awkward small talk, he started listing all of Leonard's qualities.
Did you know that Leonard has a perfect driving record and enjoys the insurance discounts that go along with that? Hubba hubba.
When Penny realized Amy had told him, Sheldon admitted and gave up.
She told me that you were thinking of ending it with Leonard.
Penny said not to step in, but Sheldon ended up sharing everything he was feeling and why it annoyed him in the most Sheldon possible way.
I'm a big fan of homeostasis.
And that is when Sheldon dropped the line that made the whole audience melt.
Penny,
What?
please don't hurt my friend.
That is the last thing I want to do.
Thank you.
Later, when Leonard asked if she was okay, Penny saw those big sad eyes of his and couldn't bring herself to break up with him.
I didn't know what else to do. He had those big, sad eyes.
By episode's end, Penny smiled at Leonard's message while talking to Amy and Bernadette. She explained how they were going to give their relationship a shot.
We're keeping things, homeostasis.
Sheldon's word had stayed with her, reminding her why Leonard was worth holding on to, and a reminder that sometimes the person who understands love the least ends up being the one who protects it the most. Or maybe something about Transformers metaphors. Either way. But protecting Leonard's heart wasn't the only time Sheldon showed up for his friends in unexpected ways. Penny, already struggling with her acting career, hit a rough financial patch where the bills were stacking up, and she had just spent a lot getting her car fixed. She was hiding from the building manager because she owed him this month's rent. She told Sheldon that she had lost hours at the restaurant and her car needed repairs.
It occurs to me you could solve all your problems by obtaining more money.
Sheldon pulled out his snake head cane, revealed a thick stack of cash, and told her to take whatever she needed. Penny became a bit hesitant about taking money, but Sheldon insisted she should take it.
Here,
No, I can't.
don't you need money?
Well, yeah, but...
This is money I'm not using.
Yeah, but what if you need it?
And she did. For Sheldon, money was just a practical tool, something that solved problems through simple transactions, and Penny told him she would return it soon.
I'll pay you back as soon as I can.
And while Penny was having dinner with the group, Leonard asked the guys to pay for their food, and when poor Penny asked about hers, Leonard tried to brush it off, saying it was his treat. That's when Raj let out his inner devil and said,
He was just wondering if he wore skin-tight jeans and a tank top if he'd get his shrimp lo mein for free.
What are you saying?
So when Sheldon came, she got frustrated because taking money from a friend started to bother Penny a lot. And she insisted again that she was going to pay him back as soon as possible. But instead of feeling offended or brushing her off, Sheldon looked at her with genuine concern.
You seem under pressure. Did I not lend you a sufficient amount? Because I can give you more.
Sheldon wasn't being condescending here. This was Sheldon at his most caring, even when he didn't understand why Penny felt uncomfortable accepting help.
Where are you going?
Going home where I won't be interrogated like a criminal.
Later, when Leonard came to her room, Penny finally told him everything, from how tight her money situation really was to how she had already spent what she borrowed from Sheldon.
I used Sheldon's money to pay my rent, then I had like $14 left over.
But Leonard explained that Sheldon didn't care about when he got the money back.
Look, you do understand that Sheldon really doesn't care when he gets the money back.
After that, he rounded up everyone and headed to Penny's ex-boyfriend's apartment, since the guy owed her a lot of money. Sheldon was nervous about going, but he still tagged along because he wanted to be a good friend. They didn't have any luck.
She'll get it when she gets it.
But fortunately, the next day Penny returned Sheldon's money because her ex actually, finally, paid her back. But wait till you see how Sheldon showed up for Howard during one of the hardest moments in his life. When Howard's mother was in Florida for a vacation, he got a call from her mother. And when Bernadette asked if she was having fun in Florida, Howard seemed a bit upset, wondering why his mother didn't check on him the way she did Stuart.
I'm her son. How come she doesn't send someone to check on me if I'm lonely?
But Bernadette tried to reassure him that things would work out in the end.
Love for things between me and Mom to get back to normal.
But when the group decided to visit the newly opened comic store, side note, that place was 100% burned down previously because of the insurance money. There is no way it wasn't. Howard realized the furniture in the comic book store was actually his mom's.
Is that my mother's furniture?
The moment he saw it, he got frustrated with Stuart for using it because he was emotionally attached to it, and it held a place in his heart.
My mom's furniture. It belongs in the house I grew up in, next to that pile of TV guides, and in plain view of what, for a 10-year-old, was a quality piece of string art.
While they were still in the store, Howard's phone rang. He stepped aside to take the call, and when he came back, he looked shaken. Leonard asked him what had happened, and Howard told everyone that his aunt had called him to tell him his mother had died.
My mom died.
Howard was obviously devastated, while everyone tried to console him, and suddenly, Sheldon came forwards. Everyone stopped him, expecting his usual straightforward and weird and, let's be real here, tactless response. But Sheldon said something completely different that was honestly the best thing he could have said.
When I lost my own father, I didn't have any friends to help me through it. You do.
It was genuine, vulnerable, and exactly what Howard needed to hear. Sheldon didn't try to fix anything or explain it with logic. He just reminded Howard that he wasn't alone, and he wouldn't have to deal with this huge tragedy by himself. And the next moment brought a quiet challenge, when Sheldon would find himself facing a situation that demanded far more of him than usual. Leonard, Howard, and Raj went on a camping trip, leaving Sheldon behind because he said he wasn't a fan of nature and wanted to stay home to work on his paper. And when Penny, across the hall, decided to take a shower, she suddenly slipped in the bathtub and dislocated her shoulder. The pain hit hard, and she couldn't get up on her own, so she started calling for help. Sheldon heard her cries from across the hall and came over to her apartment.
I need to go.
And when he finally came in the bathroom, he instantly noticed the problem.
Not surprising, you have no safety mat or adhesive stickers to allow for purchase on a surface with a low coefficient of static friction.
What?
Tubs are slippery.
I know, I slipped.
I have a series of whimsical duck stickers on the bottom of my tub.
It is one of my favorite lines in the whole show. I regularly talk about not having whimsical ducks in my shower as a result. I just need more whimsical ducks to not slip over. What can I say? Either way, it was the classic Sheldon way of focusing on the practical solutions, and then Sheldon helped her get dressed. But with all the guys gone, Penny needed someone to drive her to the hospital.
Okay, can you drive me?
I don't drive.
Well, I can't drive.
Sheldon, who didn't have a license or believe in driving, and the same person who had avoided it his whole adult life, realizes he has to save his friend Penny and needed to get her to the emergency room. So Sheldon threw all his safety rules out of the window and took Penny to the hospital. His driving was rough. Certainly not exactly what you'd call up to code, but either way, since it was his first time behind the wheel, I'll give him a passing grade. Either way, they still made it to the hospital in one piece, roughly speaking. Penny sat next to him while Sheldon filled out her medical form, asking questions about the paperwork. He was being logical and practical, making sure everything was filled out correctly, but Penny wasn't in the mood for logic.
Hey, Sheldon, look, I am scared and in a lot of pain. Could you please take a break from being you for just a minute and try being, I don't know, comforting?
And on those few occasions, Sheldon surprised everyone by letting his practical side fade and choosing to comfort Penny instead. By the end of the episode, Penny was resting in her bed with her shoulder bandaged and pain meds kicking in. With Sheldon sitting right next to her, Penny looked over him and asked,
Sing Soft Kitty to me.
He sat beside her and sang the song he usually saved for his own sick days, simply because Penny needed comfort more than he did.
Soft kitty, warm kitty, little ball of fur.
Wait. Let's sing it as a round.
This moment showed how Sheldon stepped up even when he didn't fully understand emotions or know how to comfort people. But when someone he cared about needed help, he showed up. But even before Sheldon understood emotional support, he proved his loyalty dramatically in the next moment. Penny was about to paint her toenails when she heard Sheldon and Leonard fighting over the thermostat again, and a moment later, Leonard showed up to her apartment.
Can I sleep on your couch tonight?
When she said he was crazy for living with Sheldon, well, yeah, talk about toxic roommates. Leonard explained Sheldon was even worse, and he started telling her the story of how he and Sheldon became roommates 7 years earlier.
Yes?
I'm Leonard Hofstetter. I called you about the apartment.
Penny still couldn't understand why Leonard stayed with Sheldon, as Leonard regaled her with the tale of him bringing a girl back to the apartment.
I'm just gonna keep knocking till you answer.
That's it. I'm out of here.
But Leonard said it ended up being a good thing because Joyce Kim turned out to be a North Korean spy, while Leonard was working on classified rocket fuel. Ah, honey traps and Leonard. Far too easy.
Luckily, Sheldon drove her out before I revealed anything important.
But then Leonard finally told her about the broken elevator. See, while working on the rocket fuel project, he kept some spare fuel in the apartment and was planning to show it to Joyce Kim. But with her gone, he settled for showing it to Howard and Raj.
The trick is to mix it into Tovex in order to create a combustible gel that will generate over 8,000 kilonewtons of thrust.
Won't work.
But Sheldon noticed he hadn't adjusted it for the rocket's size.
I've adjusted the formula.
Not correctly.
The fuel started smoking and he admitted he completely panicked. He tried to get out of the apartment by taking it to the elevator, but Sheldon knew exactly how long it had before it exploded. That's when Sheldon came to the rescue and took the rocket fuel out of his hands and shoved him out of the elevator. Then Sheldon closed the doors and quickly walked outside as well.
What'd you do that for? I had plenty of time.
You're welcome.
By the end of the episode, he looked at her and shared a moment that had shaped him, one he still held with quite appreciation even now.
Not only did Sheldon save my life, he didn't rat me out to the landlord, or the police, or Homeland Security.
He protected Leonard not only from the explosion, but also from going to jail. Leonard went back to the apartment and apologized to Sheldon for the fight about the thermostat. And the next moment showed how thoughtful Sheldon could be. Penny got free tickets for a wine tasting tour, and everyone was excited to go, except Sheldon, who he really had zero interest in what he calls fermented grape juice.
I like my grapes the old-fashioned way, in a juice box.
I kinda like grape juice too, but I digress. So, Bernadette couldn't go as well since she was pregnant and couldn't drink alcohol.
Bernie can't drink because she's pregnant.
While everyone else got ready to leave, Sheldon realized he and Bernadette were the only ones stuck behind, so he walked up to her and suggested they make their own plans for the evening.
Well, little lady, you've heard of Party Hardy? Get ready to party hardly.
Sheldon arranged what he called a pregnancy-friendly game night at the apartment. He planned everything with his usual attention to detail. Board games, intellectual conversation, and a meticulously portioned meal.
Our fetus-friendly festival of fun begins.
Sheldon set out all of the different types of toast he had made, including his Star Wars toast. I find your lack of crusts disturbing.
This is one that I like to call Star Wars toast.
Bernadette said she might play for a little while, but Sheldon didn't even think she would be one to stop, or even be allowed to, thinking about it, because the game was basically made for her. Her character was Bernadette Trix, a tall, brave warrior queen.
It's getting fun. What's next?
You stand in front of a tavern that serves the coldest, most delicious ale in all the realm. What do?
I storm in, slam my sword down, and say, "Barkeep, bring me the strongest ale you have and serve it in the skull of a goblin."
And as the night went on, Bernadette started to genuinely have fun, and they both connected to a deeper level. And by the end of it, she finally got a day which wasn't feeling like a pregnant mom.
Wow, this night turned out to be so much more fun than I thought.
But this next entry will make you want to be friends with Sheldon as well, because Sheldon really stands out when Leonard, Sheldon, and Howard were working on a patent application for their guidance system invention and gathered at the apartment to review the formal contract. But Bernadette started to worry that Sheldon might not play fair with Howard.
Hey, Leonard.
What?
If she doesn't think that we should apply for this patent, she's being patently absurd.
And after a lot of discussion, Howard raised his concerns about being in a partnership with Sheldon and how he gets treated.
Well, I believe I'm treating you generously. That's why I've stipulated in the contract that your contributions to our invention are as valuable as my own.
And that's when Penny suggests to add a clause for Sheldon to respect Howard.
What I'm saying is you could add a clause to the contract that he can't make fun of Howard.
The next day, he made several changes to the contract, including a clause where he agreed to stop mocking Howard's profession, haircut, and love for the Ghost Rider movie.
Including, but not limited to, mockery of engineering, his height, his hair, his wardrobe, and his insane belief that the Ghost Rider movie was, quote, not that bad.
When everyone read over the modified contract, Penny noticed something specific on page 6.
25% of profits due to Sheldon Cooper will be allocated to a scholarship fund for the firstborn child of Howard and Bernadette Wallowitz.
Howard and Bernadette were genuinely touched by his incredibly generous gesture. It showed that Sheldon expressed his friendship in his own unique ways. The next one was one of the most memorable moments. Leonard and Penny came in after shopping and visiting the doctor. Leonard said the doctor had put a camera up his nose and told him he needed surgery because of a deviated septum. And Sheldon was shocked to his core just hearing the word surgery.
But you don't have a life-threatening condition. Why would you take the risk of surgery?
Amy pointed out that Sheldon complained about the snoring all the time, but Sheldon said he'd gotten used to it after 5 or 6 years. And later that night, when Sheldon sat beside Leonard's bed, he tried to stop him again.
If the surgery is successful, the snoring is gone. And if you die during surgery, the snoring is gone.
He tried his best to convince Leonard by calculating his probability of death. Leonard has a fairly solid tolerance for Sheldon and Sheldon-related antics, but even he was reasonably annoyed with Sheldon as he started to move up his surgery and went without Sheldon finding out. And when Amy was driving Sheldon, he noticed she was acting strange. He asked her what was wrong, and she tried to avoid telling him.
You're acting odd. Why?
I'm odd all the time. Everyone knows that.
But eventually, Amy finally admitted that Leonard had an early appointment and was having his nose surgery done right at that moment.
An earlier appointment opened up for Leonard, and he's getting the surgery right now.
Sheldon immediately asked Amy to take him to the hospital.
Amy, he's my best friend, and if you don't take me, I'm going there anyway.
He felt restless because he had been reading about people dying during surgeries, and the thought of something happening to Leonard while he wasn't there terrified him.
And I wouldn't be able to forgive myself if something happened to him and I wasn't at his bedside to say, I told you so.
At the surgery, when Leonard was having his surgery done, Sheldon was sitting with Amy and Penny when a small earthquake hit, causing the electricity to go out. Sheldon completely panicked. He rushed to check if Leonard was okay and ended up hitting his nose on the glass door. Later in the episode, both Sheldon and Leonard were seen with bandages on their noses, and Penny took their picture for Christmas cards. Sheldon's panic showed just how deeply he cared about Leonard, even if he tried to hide it behind jokes. In the next one, Sheldon stood his ground so firmly, he almost gave up on his Nobel Prize. Sheldon and Amy were filming an episode of Fun with Flags, the greatest content idea in the history of YouTube. Flags are indeed fun. But, again, digressions aside, at this moment, Amy suddenly looked down at her phone and she saw a text from a team of physicists who confirmed that their paper about super asymmetry was right.
We did it.
We did it?
We did it.
We did it. We did it! We did it! We did it!
As the episode moved forwards, they both got called to President Siebert's office. He told them this breakthrough could be huge, the kind of discovery that changed everything.
I hope you know with these new data supporting your theory, we could be looking at a Nobel-winning achievement.
Siebert told them that Dr. Pemberton and Dr. Campbell from the Fermilab in Los Angeles were really eager to meet them. And when they eventually met, Sheldon and Amy said they never expected their theory to be confirmed so quickly. Amy asked how they had managed to design an experiment when the paper had only been published a few months earlier. The two explained that the confirmation had been an accident. They had been researching for years, and their data made no sense. When another colleague showed them the Cooper-Fowler paper, which explained their results and proved super asymmetry, instead of losing their jobs, they had been sent to LA, even though they barely understood the theory.
We don't even understand it.
And now, somehow, all four of them were changing the face of physics together.
And now look at the four of us, changing the face of physics.
Which, to be honest, is not that far out for science in general. Go look up how penicillin was discovered if you're interested. They told him that only 3 people could share a Nobel Prize, which meant that they needed to leave Amy out since she was a neuroscientist, not a physicist. Sheldon walked out of there, furious. The whole conversation bothered him a lot, and he couldn't shake it. Later, at dinner, Amy noticed something was wrong and asked him about it. He told her the whole situation, explaining that if they left Amy out and worked with Pemberton and Campbell, they might have a better shot at winning. Amy looked at him and told him she was okay with that idea. She was willing to sacrifice herself because winning the Nobel Prize had always been Sheldon's dream.
I don't want to be the reason that you don't win a Nobel.
And Sheldon portrayed his most romantic side, which is very unusual for him.
You're the only reason I deserve one.
As I think anyone who's watching these videos and likes Big Bang Theory will understand. The very next day, Sheldon barged into President Siebert's office and made it clear that the paper was both of theirs, and the hard work belonged to both of them.
Amy and I did this together, and I will not be part of an award that does not recognize the value of her contribution.
He told Siebert they should include both of them in the recommendation letter, or not bother writing one at all. He stood firm on that ground and wasn't going to back down. He just wanted to do the right thing for Amy because he cared about her, and he stood his ground so firmly that he almost ruined the chance to get something he'd been dreaming about his whole life. It showed how far he was willing to go for the sake of his friendships and his own personal moral code. But wait until the next one shows you a completely different side of Sheldon. Sheldon was in the apartment talking about his celebration of Saturnalia when Penny walked up to him holding a wrapped present. She told him she'd brought some silly little neighbor gifts for him and Leonard.
But I got you and Leonard a few silly neighbor gifts, so I'll just put them under my tree.
Sheldon looked at the box, genuinely confused.
You bought me a present?
Uh-huh.
This caught him completely off guard because gift giving wasn't something Sheldon understood or really got the concept of. He immediately started explaining to Penny why this created a problem.
I know you think you're being generous, but the foundation of gift giving is reciprocity.
Penny tried to reassure him that he didn't have to give her anything back, and that it was just a small gift between neighbors. But Sheldon could not accept that. In his mind, if someone gave you a gift, you were obligated to match it with something of equal value. So Sheldon panicked and asked Howard and Raj to help him. They went shopping together, and Sheldon came back with 5 different bath item gift baskets. Each one different size and price.
Great news, Leonard. I've solved my Penny gift dilemma.
Just in case. He gamed out like a whole plan. They would exchange gifts at the same time. He would open Penny's gift first, then excuse himself, claiming digestive distress, such a Sheldon phrase. He would run to his room, look up the price online, and give her the basket that came closest to the value. Foolproof. Sheldon could jaunt back in with an appropriately priced prize and give it over to Penny as a gift. With the additional benefit, of course, of being able to return the other 4 and get his money back. As I said, foolproof. Except, of course, it didn't really work out like that in the real world. On Christmas, Penny came over with her gift and Sheldon was ready. He opened the box carefully, and inside was a napkin, just a plain napkin. Sheldon stared at it, confused, until Penny told him to turn it over. When he did, he saw handwriting on the other side.
To Sheldon, live long and prosper. Leonard Nimoy.
Sheldon was completely stunned. Penny told him that she got the napkin at a restaurant where Leonard Nimoy was eating. He had wiped his mouth with it, then signed it for Sheldon. That detail sent Sheldon into an emotional state.
I possess the DNA of Leonard Nimoy?
He was so overwhelmed in a way no one had seen before, and suddenly he started handing her baskets, all 5 of them, but even that didn't feel like enough. Live long and heart palpitate instead? And then in a moment, Sheldon walked over to Penny and hugged her. He actually initiated a hug, something he'd never let anyone do.
Leonard, look, Sheldon's hugging me.
He couldn't express what he felt in words, so he gave her everything he had and hugged her. For Sheldon, that was probably the biggest gesture he could possibly offer. But Sheldon's support wasn't reserved for special moments. He lifted others up in small, subtle ways too. In this episode, Bernadette and Howard found out they were going to have a baby boy.
It's a boy.
Howard was left looking disappointed.
Come on, you can't really be disappointed.
Not because he didn't want a son, but because his own doubts had begun to affect him. The group talked about Howard and Bernadette having a son, and Amy asked Bernadette if she even wanted a little version of Howard.
I already have a little version of Howard.
Howard, meanwhile, admitted he wasn't sure he could teach anything manly to his son, and the worry on his face made it clear that he really was scared about it. That thought was terrifying about his own potential inadequacies.
I barely know how to be a man myself. Now I have to teach someone?
He brought up how he used to build model rockets growing up, which later got Sheldon instantly excited. Later, Howard asked her if he wanted to build one with him.
What do you say you and me build this rocket?
They went to a remote area to launch the Saturn V rocket they had built. They had a small argument about whether the countdown should be L- or T-.
L-10.
It's T-.
I was an astronaut. We used L-.
When they launched those, they said T-.
It's my rocket. We're doing it my way.
And once Sheldon started recording, Howard went ahead and launched the rocket. It failed, and the look on Howard's face said everything.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It was the one thing he actually felt confident about, and it still didn't go right. Howard asked what he could possibly teach his son. Sheldon tried to cheer up Howard by pointing out that the launch might have been terrible, but the explosion was pretty damn glorious.
Thanks for trying, but you're not going to be able to cheer me up.
Later, Sheldon asked if he could drive the car, and Howard actually let him. He sat in the passenger seat, giving Sheldon instructions on how to handle the wheel, when to brake, and how to stay in the lane safely. That's when Sheldon turned to him and said something Howard really needed to hear.
You're a good teacher. Your son is going to be lucky to have you as a father.
He genuinely meant it. Sheldon showed Howard that he really had what it took to be a great dad. And the next one shows how Sheldon's words can sometimes be really unexpected. In the season 10 premiere episode, Leonard and Penny had already gotten married in Vegas.
Actually, I'm in Vegas. Leonard and I are about to get married.
You're getting married and you didn't invite me?
But they decided to have an outdoor ceremony for their friends and family back home because Leonard's mother was upset about not being able to attend their wedding. Bernadette officiated the wedding, and everyone gathered to watch them exchange vows properly this time. Penny delivered her vows.
How incredibly happy you make me. Thank you for marrying me.
And the ceremony moved forward while Bernadette asked if anybody wanted to say something. That's when Sheldon suddenly interrupted. He stood up because he felt this urgent need to say something to Leonard, and everyone was, understandably, skeptical about what words would come out of Sheldon's mouth in this moment of all times. He looked at Leonard and started speaking about his feelings on his most special day.
Leonard, you and I have our ups and downs, but I have always considered you my family. But you are of great importance to me, both of you.
The couple was genuinely moved by what Sheldon said. It was rare for him to express his feelings like that, even if it came out a little awkward and included a weird comment about their parents. But if you think that one was unexpected, what happens next is unexpected times 2. You know what, actually I've not done the proper scaling on this one. We'll stick with times 2, but just assume it's more unexpected. Either way, it's the moment when Sheldon offers Howard a genuine apology. Raj, being Raj, shared an awkward story that left Howard and Bernadette intensely uncomfortable. And when he asked to change the topic, Sheldon shifted things towards Penny's struggling acting career.
How about Penny's depressing acting career?
Penny mentioned turning down a bad role. Leonard questioned why she would turn down paying work, especially when money was tight. The conversation got worse when Sheldon took a jab at Howard's job, leading Bernadette to call him out for being mean.
Why do you constantly feel the need to put down my husband?
But Sheldon turned back to answer Bernadette before she walked out. He explained that it was always Howard who started it.
10 years ago, upon first seeing me, your husband claimed that I looked like C-3PO and Pee Wee Herman. And he called me C-3 Pee Wee Herman.
Bernadette reminded him that it had been years ago, yet Sheldon still went on listing even more things. Later in the episode, Howard came over to talk to Sheldon. He told him that Bernadette made him realize something very important. They had known each other for a very, very long time. Maybe it was time they tried to be better friends instead of constantly insulting and sniping and tearing each other down.
You and I have known each other a long time.
Then he invited Sheldon to come with him to NASA, where he'd been asked to give a little speech. Bernadette dropped the both of them off at the airport, and even then, Sheldon couldn't help himself. Howard pointed out that it wasn't every day he got to tour NASA with a real astronaut, and Sheldon immediately asked who the astronaut was.
It's not every day you get to tour NASA with a real astronaut.
Who's the real astronaut?
Completely ignoring that Howard had been to space as well. Later on the plane, Sheldon said he needed to use the restroom, and Howard grew frustrated. Even though he had been trying to be a better friend, Sheldon kept making comments that bothered him and did not acknowledge that Howard was an astronaut.
I'm trying to be a better friend, but you constantly say and do irritating things.
Pointing out that Sheldon was jealous because he couldn't admit the truth, and for once, Sheldon didn't deflect or make a joke.
Well, truth be told, as a child I did dream of going to space. Those astronauts are my heroes.
Saying it out loud seemed to release something inside him, like he was finally acknowledging a pain he'd been carrying for years. But then the plane hit turbulence, and suddenly everything felt dangerous and real. Sheldon and Howard grabbed each other's hands, holding on tightly as the plane rattled around them. In that moment of fear and vulnerability, Sheldon finally said what he should have said a long time ago.
Sorry for every mean thing I ever did or said to you.
The turbulence eventually stopped, but something between them had shifted, best encapsulated by the fact they were still holding each other's hands. And in that last scene, Sheldon's speech became a part of the episode that fans still remembered and loved. Sheldon and Amy traveled to Stockholm, Sweden, to accept their Nobel Prize in Physics for their discovery of superasymmetry. It was the moment Sheldon had spent his whole life dreaming of, the best point of everything he'd ever worked towards. Their friends all came along to support them and witness this incredible achievement. Earlier in the episode, Sheldon was his usual self, completely self-centered, narcissistic, and oblivious to how his behavior was hurting the people around him. With his usual lack of tact, he managed to upset Leonard and Penny, who was secretly pregnant and dealing with their own emotions about it. But Sheldon kept ranting about his Nobel Prize.
Oh, please, you couldn't upstage us. We won a Nobel Prize.
He even upset Howard and Bernadette, who were stressed about their kids back home and were just exhausted from traveling. His friends got so frustrated with him, they seriously considered flying back to Pasadena before the ceremony even happened. Amy had to tell him directly that people only tolerated his insensitivity because they knew it was unintentional, and the conversation left Sheldon feeling genuinely ashamed of himself.
They're abandoning us because you broke their hearts.
Despite everything, all of his friends decided to stay. They recognized how important this day was for Sheldon and Amy, and they weren't going to miss it, even after being hurt. At the ceremony, Sheldon and Amy stood on the stage in front of everyone. Amy gave her speech first, an inspiring message to young girls interested in science, encouraging them to pursue their dream. Then it was Sheldon's turn. He pulled out his speech, something he'd been preparing and refining since he was a child. He started to read from it, but then he paused.
I have a very long and somewhat self-centered speech here, but I'd like to set it aside.
He looked out into the audience and saw all his friends sitting there in the second row. He acknowledged that his accomplishments were not his alone, that he hadn't gotten to this moment by himself.
And my other family, who I'm so happy to have here with us.
He told the audience that he had been encouraged and inspired, not just by his wife, but by the greatest group of friends anyone could ever have. Then he asked each of them to stand up, mentioning how beautiful they made his life. Oh, of course, while everyone was overwhelmed by the emotions and heartfelt feelings, he did the most Sheldon possible thing. Sheldon went on to call Leonard and Penny his closest friends. He looked back on the day they first all crossed paths and reminded everyone of when Leonard joked they'd end up having kids who were both brilliant and gorgeous.
I apologize if I haven't been the friend you deserve.
He told them that he loved them in his own weird way. The moment was incredibly powerful. Penny was brought to tears, and the whole group felt the weight of what Sheldon had just said. The show ended shortly after, with the group back in apartment 4A, eating dinner together around the coffee table. In the end, it was clear Sheldon had not only grown, but he had been a good friend all along in his own uneven, awkward way. And that earnestness really came across now that the whole group understood it. That's it for today. Please subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let us know about your own favourite Sheldon moment.